I'm Donna Luebbers. I'm a volunteer on the supervisory committee, and I'm delighted to be so. And I grew up in Southern Illinois in a town called Belleville, and it's maybe about an hour or so from St. Louis. Much smaller town than St. Louis, though. I transferred here with Monsanto, and from having worked in Southern Illinois and Missouri, then I came here. I've been at this location maybe around 17 years or so, but with the company over 25 now. Well, now our name is we've gone through a couple different names. There were Chemstrand, then Monsanto, then Solutia, now Ascend Performance Materials. So I have seen a lot of changes from the company perspective, and my position is I'm a team leader for our support center of our global IT support for the company. We have Ascend has 5 plants, and Pensacola is their largest. Looking over the calls that come in and helping prioritize of which ones impact production or shipping, get highest priority, and make sure we have people focused on those to see if there's some root cause that we can eliminate to reduce people's frustration in the calls to the support center, to make sure that we have hardware on hand for PCs that need replaced or network printers, or working on a project now. Our plant is spread out over 40 acres, and so there are a lot of different buildings. And so a project recently was swapping out our obsolete Xerox printers or copiers to make them on the network so that you can scan from all of those and things like that. So, and training on the new functionality to make sure that I help coordinate that, so, for the new technology coming in. I was asked by our plant manager at the time, Craig Ivey, if I would represent the plant, since our Gulf Winds Credit Union had its start as Monsanto Employees Credit Union. And a lot of board members, the majority of our board members are Monsanto retirees, so we still like to have that, provide that community support from the plant perspective. And it was a chance to learn something new and help a credit union I've already thought a lot of, so that's how I got started. Well, I can think of one delightful example is the support for our neighborhood park. Gulf Winds made a substantial contribution towards the materials for that park that we just have up the road on Ascend property now, and you see school buses of kids coming to play. They have a field trip there. A lot of families bring their children there to play, and so to be part of that is one example. A big change that comes to mind is that when I first came, our major product that we sold on the outside and didn't just consume internally was, they call it carpet staple, and that's what we sold to carpet mills in the U.S., so that was our major thing that we made. And so some things that have changed is that when I first came, we made mostly carpet staple that we sold to the outside, to carpet mills, where they turn this carpet staple into carpeting. As the housing market has changed so much that people don't put much carpeting in their house, more so wood laminate or hardwood floors or tile or whatever, that we weren't selling much carpet staple, and our price was dropping as a result, and much lower volume. So we switched. We have that whole integrated nylon plant, so we switched over to making nylon pellets because there was a big market for that. So that's a really good story that the plant was adaptable, and the leadership invested in changing things out so that that nylon could go into something that was marketable, nylon pellets. So another thing is that we used to sell mostly to U.S.-based customers, and now the majority of our nylon pellets are exported. So to be a U.S.-based manufacturing company that mostly exports is really something I'm proud of our plant for staying competitive. That's quite a challenge. You've heard of lots of manufacturing that's shut down in the last 20+ years. So ours is thriving. Yes, like other companies, other companies buy our pellets, then they melt them down and extrude them into different things. Something you might be familiar with are just cable ties to tie up cables in cars or on your video equipment or whatever. And a lot of car parts, are made with our product. We have sometimes we compound our nylon with other materials like fiberglass that give other properties and other different materials as well to make it, you know, fire retardant or have extra strength or whatever. So a lot of car parts that you see, like the molding for your mirror, for example, some things under the hood are made with our nylon. The shape is different, and so what a previous leader that had this vision of changing and going from making something that's losing money to something that's making money is you have this big integrated nylon plant. It's kind of like if you imagine your house is all plumbed up and you're just changing out the shower head to make something different. So instead of making these long fibers of carpet staple that we would put in these great big cans called piddle cans, and then we'd truck those over to our Foley, Alabama plant, and they would crimp those nylon strands, cut them, and add heat to them, give them different properties, and a good hand, they call that in the carpet business, good texture. Then they'd bale it and ship it to our carpet mills. So now we, you know, part of that shower head, if you will, is that they shoot out this strand of nylon, but they chop it up. Yeah. Another product we make that's very profitable, we don't make a lot of it, but what we do has a really good margin, is something called no shock. And that's what's added to people that use our nylon and other people's nylon so that you remember when you were a kid, you'd walk across the floor and you'd shock somebody very easily. Well, if they have just a one strand out of a very low ratio of no shock fiber that we make, it dissipates the shock. So they use that in, you know, a long time now. They've been using it in computer rooms where they were carpeted, but in housing and commercial uses as too. My first job with Monsanto was working at their corporate headquarters based in St. Louis, and I did 2 internships I went to the Southern Illinois University at Edwardsville, which is about 45 minutes from where I grew up. I went to a commuter university, but I was the first one in my family to go to college, so I was happy to go to anyone. But anyway, they recruited from that local university into it was called MIS, Management Information Systems at the time, now IT, Information Technology. So I was recruited to be one of their interns. So I started working 6 months, and then I'd go to school 6 months, and then I went back for a second term, and then they offered me a full-time position at their plant in Illinois called the Crumrick plant. So I worked there for 7 years. And then at the corporate office, they were installing a new payroll HR system, and they wanted somebody with plant experience in IT. So I transferred over to corporate office and worked for a couple years, and was happy to do that. But I really love manufacturing, so when they asked me to consider a move, it was a promotion, and it has turned out to be a wonderful place to live here in Pensacola. And so I jumped at that chance to move down here. That's where I met my husband as well, who had transferred down here. Well, you can tell that they have such a passion for the success of this credit union, and they have a lot of history to have seen what works and what doesn't work. They also seem very adaptable to change and not becoming stagnant, because what worked yesterday may not work in these times. So, and even things like embracing new technology. So I applaud them for their versatility and willingness and eagerness to continue to improve things. So that's how, you know, big reason I have to say why our credit union has continued to grow. Some other ones haven't been so fortunate, because the number of credit unions have shrunk significantly, even just in the short while I've been a part of volunteer. Yes, Chris was already here. Mm-hmm. And he's really well thought of, both by our supervisory committee and the board. They tell people at conventions that he's terrible, so they don't steal him. I know people know that they're teasing about that, but we have a lot of respect and appreciation for the work that Chris and his team that he's brought in and helped nurture to help us be a success. I'm particularly interested and proud that our IT organization keeps up to date. That's my field for my full-time job, and Teresa and her team do a great job of not letting us get stagnant, because if we're going to appeal to young people to join our credit union or continue to appeal to young people, they're all about technology and what can they do from their smartphone, et cetera. Things that Kurt's done from the marketing perspective on Go Gulf Wins, so that's one area that I think will, and the board and Chris are supportive of continuing to invest in there because you need money to have that new software and new hardware that people have grown to depend on those applications. Just something simple like continuing to enhance remote bill pay, those type of things. So, and continuing to, which I think we're doing, and I look forward to continuing, is to reach out to new members and continue the growth. Be structured so that we're ready to take on more growth.
That's part of the advisory committee. Is it a natural progression that you'll probably be on the board one day? I know it's not guaranteed, but
right, there's no guarantee, but they do want people with a background and knowledge of the credit union. So that's their current process. Is that's a feeder for the board, so that you can spend your time learning about it and being focused on the audit. You learn so much, so it's a good preparation. I could see why they decided that some time ago, because there's so much to be learned by covering the different topics that you do on because of course the auditor reports into the supervisory committee. So every month, I'm learning something new. I might have seen an audit report previously, but our new auditor might have a different twist, or might have gone to a conference where there's something else to look at in more depth. So to keep our members' assets secure and protect us from fraud, et cetera. So you get to learn a lot while you're auditing. A lot of things, like one thing that we worked on last week was we have something called automated guided vehicle that takes our pallets of material over to the warehouse. Well, in the old days, you would have had somebody, much more manpower in on those. Well, to become more efficient, to stay marketable in this environment, we have had to implement some technology like that. But I've seen, even in the past couple years, tremendous growth again of technology, to help understand how we could better serve our customers, or maybe new markets that we could get into, and you need engineers to help become more productive. So yes, there have been a lot of changes. I am proud of our company to adapt, that we have been a survivor and not like a lot of manufacturing outfits that have shut down. Someone had told me about a question earlier about if you had a recommendation for young people that maybe don't have as much work experience as I do over the years. And that is, two things that came to mind when somebody mentioned that to me is, one, to try to have a positive attitude. Some things aggravate you, undoubtedly, not just at work, all over the place. But if you can try to, most of the time, have a positive attitude to help you through, I'd encourage people to remember that. And then a second thing is, don't be surprised when things change and you're asked to learn new things. Look at the success of our board. Here they are, in their 70s, 80s, and they continue to learn new things and to help our credit union. So as young people, just embrace learning. Don't be frustrated that, here's something new I have to learn. Just accept that. If you're going to keep that's the people that I think do the best, is those that just adapt to change and get on with it and try to have a positive attitude about it. So that'd be something I wanted to add.